Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Community Live broadcast of the KISS Community Race number 2 of the league. We are out on the UCI 2015 World's Course out in Richmond, and we've got a lot of riders hanging out in the pens at this point. Taking off from the get-go, I've got alongside me Mr. Greg Leo as my co-commentator today. And as per the usual, the pace looks to be taking off extremely high right from the get-go. Now, if you do want to interact with the broadcast today, make sure to do so over on all of the different chats. We'll be able to bring you in through our super awesome, amazing social media integrations. And Greg, the race as usual is 432 people. I think this is one of, like, last week's broadcast was like one of the most popular broadcasts of the year as far as ZCL stuff goes. So obviously people are really excited about the community racing. What do you think is going to happen today? I mean, we saw amazing race yesterday. We see some Madison Genesis boys looking to show up, it looks like, for perhaps a little bit of revenge on not taking the W yesterday. So it looks like it's pretty
Yeah.
hotly contested. We there, Greg? You with me? I think I'm losing Greg.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
I mean, and we got
There we
yesterday's
go.
winner out here in Alex West. So, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, gotcha. Right on. Just double checking here real quick. I think maybe a little bit
Yeah,
of
so
connection
can you hear
issue.
me all
No,
right,
we're
Nathan?
good. Yeah, you're good to go. You're good to go. You're good to go. So looking through. Also, I just want to let everybody know, for some odd reason, at the last minute, our this
Yeah,
is the
so
worst thing I would like to that I don't want everybody this is one of the worst things that could have happened at the last minute as far as my what I would like to see happen with the broadcast here. But our women's, I have the feed here. It's here. We will talk about it as soon as I can get the images on the screen. I will do so. I would love it if I could have one Zwift open and be able to click through between events very easily, but that does not exist at this point. So as soon as we can bring in the feed, I will do so here on the broadcast. I think we may have a little bit of trouble with Greg's connection here, just so you guys know too as well. So a couple of things right from the get-go going a little bit wacky, but we'll make sure to try and work with them as best as we possibly can. But the riders here looks like heading on this uphill gradient here, 2% gradient onto the flatter section of the course. I do see that the Zwift gets extremely loud as well on the cobbles here. We'll go ahead and turn that down, but it looks like 88th place here currently for Fusion EVO. We're going to move forward and see where things are at toward the front end of the main pack. In the ladies' race, we do have, it looks like, Fearless as well as Brewer, with El Brewer as well as Malou, it looks like, and Yana standing from Vision up toward the front end of that pack as they are heading through the same section of the course right now. We'll make sure to be giving shout-outs there as soon as we possibly can. We'll move over to the women's race. It may be mainly for the finish if we can jump in there as best as we possibly can today, everybody. So looking forward at the front of the open/men's race, though. There's a little bit of attack off the front here. And it looks like it is going to be Team Poland here. 521 watts now, 150 beats per minute currently coming from, it looks like, Grabar Zeke here now. Looks like Wurgler as well coming from Switzerland here trying to chase that down. We'll give him a ride on, but it is going to be a 3-second gap at this point coming from the rider out of Poland here. Then there's going to be Van Lack as well here coming out of Germany here. 155 beats per minute, 5.7 watts per kilogram it looks like here. There's a lot of new riders here coming out of the woodwork, it looks like, for the broadcasts and the KISS Community League, as I'm not seeing a ton of super familiar names at this point. Toward the front end of this pack with 432 riders that have jumped into here. I think a lot of the riders, especially being an open race here, the categories are not separated out, so perhaps we will see some of the riders get a little bit more get a little bit more of a free ride through these sections, up through the sprint section of the UCI Richmond's course. UCI Richmond's definitely has a flatter section up front, as you can see here. As we just have a 0% gradient at this point, that does move into a solid, into the sprint and then a downhill into the industrial park. But it is, as you can see in the upper right-hand corner there on the mini map, it is going to be pretty chill for the first about 7K, maybe even 10K or so, and then it does head down into the industrial park here. On the upper right hand side, you do see the little dip there, and then the KOMs are going to be a place where things are going to be breaking up. So, looking at the front end of this group, still probably 300 plus riders able to make this lead group at this point. We'll see if something does get contested through the sprint, though, here, break up at all amongst the riders here. So, looking through some of the chatter here, I have a feeling we're going to have a couple of maybe comments there on the women's race. Cast coming in here. We're trying to get those in as best as we can. We do see Claudia Barry in here hanging out. It looks like Claudia's saying, "Hi, Nate, thanks, Nathan. All women's races should maybe just be separate." Claudia's saying it's a good point, Claudia. Perhaps for the time being, until we can get some sort of until we can get some sort of a tool that does allow us to go between events as we're trying to cover multiple events. That may be the way to go. It's a good point there, Claudia. U.S. national champion hanging out in the broadcast, Zwift national champion, as well as a Zwift all-star. I heard you were DSing a little bit in the Tuesday race for the KISS Super League. So good to see you hanging out here, and I am looking forward to the defenses this weekend of the national championship. Kids, I have a feeling that Claudia might be resting up a little bit for that, perhaps, unless she's hanging out. I'll have to take a look through the start list, though, and the live list over at ZwiftPower.com to figure out whether or not she's hanging out in the community league today. I think we do have Greg back with us. Greg, let's do a quick little audio. Check it a 1-2. Greg Leo.
Ooh,
He's
hello.
back with us.
I'm back.
Look at this. He survives.
What a save.
Good job. Good job.
We'll see how long it lasts, Nathan.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how long it lasts. So what's happening here with this race here? What's your perspective? I mean, this looks like, I think we've got more racers this week than we had last week, and there's a massive group here. I think this has a lot to do with the fact that it's an open race. It's mass starts. So I think a lot of riders from all the categories get a little more of a free ride before we hit those KOMs.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I mean, I think I think part of it is yesterday's race was so exciting, and just the KISS League races, the Super League races in general have been so exciting. It's drawing more people out from the community to these community races. I mean, we were looking at absolutely all of the top racers signed up here. I see Sam Bike in here, and Messineo and Dan Fleeman, Alex West, yesterday's winner, and Steve Young. So I mean, some of the best racers on Zwift out here.
Yeah, I mean, and then Alex West obviously yesterday taking down the W in the KISS Super League. I think I did see Ian Bibby hanging out from Madison Genesis in the group. We're going to see if any other Madison Genesis boys have shown up and perhaps trying to get a little bit of revenge on the likes of Alex West, who was able to just nip him at the line there with a crazy fast sprint yesterday in that KISS Super League. I mean, that sprint was one of the biggest bursts of speed and power I've seen out on Zwift as he came flying by the last second attack there from the rider from Team Dimension for Quebec. So that was absolutely from Brown. It was C. Brown, I believe, that was out there that made the early attack here. We are also seeing another rider here, Lionel Viasen, always one that we shouldn't be counting out in these situations. Yesterday, an amazing race from Lionel there. Riding today for the Canyon ZCC team. That is the new elite / semi-pro team that is fully supported, actually, to be racing out on Zwift in the community league here. So he took down the KOM as well as the sprint competition yesterday. I would not be doubting this man for the W out here today. Maybe just some leg openers on that short 40-minute. I think it was like a 45-minute race yesterday. So maybe Austin here, along with the rest of the Canyon boys, have shown up to try and race. We do see Steve Young out there as well, coming from the likes of ZCC. But I have a feeling we might see a couple of riders out here definitely showing up to represent maybe some new teams, as Cryogen has been showing up, I think, with Dan Fleeman, as you were mentioning. I think we also are seeing, it looks like Race 3R out here today. Wouldn't count them. Fusion ECT, another team with Soren Bay, who is the Danish national champion out there. So lots of teams looking to try and take down the Community League. We are seeing another sprint point here coming on through. It's going to be Truzinski here with Team Poland, as well as Tiesling here coming from, it looks like, Dutch Racing. Unfamiliar with the Dutch Racing team. Interesting to see Van Tiesling here. This might be a new team out on course now for the Community League. It's going to try and show what they've got up against the Team Poland here off the front here. Gorlek there as well, now closing things down, it looks like, making his way to the front. You can't always recognize the Team Poland kit out on course there, the red, black, and white there. Looks like Jay Taylor now making his way to the front there, as well as Waldemar here. Team Poland showing up in force, it looks like, at the front end of these packs right now. So there is a women's race going on. We do have it here. JD Tipper, I appreciate the question. It's probably going to come over and over again, and we are here with it. We have a slight, very, not just so slight actually, a very unfortunate situation with our feed. I will show you exactly what our feed looks like of the women's race. That's what's coming through right now for our feed of the women's race. The only way to fix it at this point that I know of is to restart the computer that we have the women's race up on. So if we do that, we lose the event, though we cannot enter back into the event. So just to be fully transparent what's going on with why I do not have that up, we will talk about the women's race. I can see exactly what's going on there. We currently have a front group of about, it looks like, at least seems to be 30 or 40 riders here at this point at the front of the group. They are heading towards the industrial park at this point, and the main section of the course actually, or the main section of the sprint. They're heading through the sprint section of the course right now onto the downhill into the industrial park. Currently with the Canyon ZCC team, it looks like really controlling things with Rigamoto as well as Kristen Falcon. It is going to be Eklund there as well. So Canyon ZCC really showing up on point today. Mary Wilkinson from the KRT team up toward the front, as well as Whitelaw, Vicky Whitelaw for the, it looks like she's keeping the All-Stars name in her in there today as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if perhaps maybe a little bit of a switch up there for Whitelaw. I believe she's still riding for Innovation though. Giannis Denning's there, as well as it looks like Borman's there for the Team Experimental, which I've not seen a whole lot out on course recently. So that's the current situation for the women's race. We'll try and keep you updated there as best as we possibly can. We've got a whole lot of chatter there. Well, could you explain some of the split of the team and draft a new indoor specialist? Mango, interesting question there. We try and, maybe that's for another stream, as this is more of the situation for that's more of a conversation, I think, for maybe more of a magazine show where we're chatting a little bit about all the happenings there out on Zwift. Greg, are you with us? Looks like Greg's like frozen. I think Greg's visited Disney and is hanging out. I think he wants to build a snowman is what is happening right now for Greg. So we might let Greg build snowmen and head back into the front end of the race here, as it looks like he's turned into a little bit of a snowman out there today. It's too bad he's got the internet connection there. I think for Greg is gone a little. Yeah, he's extremely still getting a little bit. I mean, he's doing his best impression. I think it's the what's the challenge? It's the mannequin challenge. She's just doing the mannequin challenge out there today for the broadcast. I think that was one of the dares that he had out there today. So blink once if you're being forced into this. AB is saying there. I think that might be what's happening with Greg Press. But toward the front end of the open race now at this point. Follow the race, please. Thanks a lot. I appreciate the feedback there. Right now, there's not a whole lot going on, though, in the industrial park now at this point. Very calm section of the course. Not a whole lot going to be happening here as we are waiting for the this next section of the course to really open up here onto Libby Hill. So moving forward, though, as we can see, this is going to be M. Hansen, 7.3 watts per kilogram. Hey, Greg, I do got you back. It is pretty good at this point, but you're going to need to mute some of there is a little bit of a feedback coming through from my feed to you through VMix, just so you know. There is a little bit of feedback coming through from my feed to you on VMix here. So the Leo here now, or excuse me, not Leo, Messinil here. Poison Dart now, 11.2 watts per kilogram, 12 watts per kilogram currently coming from him. West here following it up now. This is when things are going to really start to break up here. Canyon now making their way to the front here, 172 beats per minute. Trying to follow up Messinil, the Poison Dart here. Messinil, the 184 beats per minute currently coming from him. It's going to be Dutch Racing here, now trying to close it down, making their way to the front of the main pack now. Alex West from Canyon now, 193. Reichert here out of Germany here. It's going to be Sobrara now out of Canada now, following it very closely, though. It looks like this front pack now really starting to separate itself out on Libby Hill. Diner there following up out from Canyon now as well. Gonna be, it looks like Baba Jaga, though, with no heart rate monitor. Not going to be able to take a W out there today. Just out there for the fun of it looks like here, with RPMs all over the place. It looks like Z-Power, but without Z-Power next to the wattages, which is interesting to see. But Messinil going to be able to follow that here, it looks like, as it is going to be Lindsay there as well. Reichert here with the 3-second gap back to them as things stretch out. As you can see, riders just trying to grab the wheels immediately in front of them. Dan Fleeman here from Dig Deep Coaching here, jumping onto it, as well as riding for Cryogen, I believe, out there. And then we do have Vang here, the Norwegian national champion, to be looking for that defense this weekend here, but he's going to have to defend the front end of the race now at this point, as the Poison Dart is flying off the front. We're going to do a quick test here with you, Greg. Greg, are you with me?
I'm here, Nathan.
And you
How's
got
it
it.
sound?
We are good to go. Connected, and we've got Leo back in with us here.
Some practice in crisis control there.
We got it. No big.
Well, look at these Libby Hill times, man. Some sub 1 minute Libby Hill times.
1 minute? This is insane. Nathan tries with the name always. Oh my gosh. I saw the comment there, Raymond, and I love it. And, you know, maybe Greg Leo can help me out here with the Canyons, the pronunciation of the Canyon rider's name there. Diner is what I'm going there.
Diner.
But
I think you got that one right. Let's try the other one. How about Lionel's last name?
Oh, no. I'm going to give that one to you. Vujasin.
Okay.
Vujasin.
Oh,
Vujasin. Vujasin. There we go.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like it sounds like an exclamation in a comic book. Like when one of the characters punches the other one.
I don't know. I feel like I'm in Star Wars. I mean, Jedi Knights is what I feel like whenever I, especially with the Tron bike, if he's using it out there today. But no, I think he's going to be on a Canyon rather than the Tron today here. But it definitely has the force as he was taking down the KOMs yesterday, as well as the sprints. I mean, absolutely amazing there from Vujasin there. But it's going to be West and Vujasin, as well as, is there anybody else there from Canyon Diner there as well? It looks like.
Is Steve Young still in? I think he had jumped into this race. I don't see him up here right now though.
Well, it looks like Madison Genesis able to make it here too. Almost the whole team. Jay Phillips is there as well. It looks like, you know, Phillips involved still. I think he's the stronger sprinter from amongst the rest of the group that has made it. I don't believe Young was able to make it up to the top of the 23rd Street climb with the rest of the group, but there is a solid pack off the front now amongst the open race. Jensen here taking it back at 20th place or so. V-Mail trying to close it down. 23 though have made as they make the climb into Governor Street. Now, at the front of the women's race, though, they're just coming over the top of Libby Hill, just so everybody knows. Hansen, the Swedish national champion, is leading things out at 173 beats per minute, 250 watts. Right, a Hubach there out of Denmark, and it's going to be Borman there out of the Netherlands making it through as well. So we'll just make sure we're making mentions. If we can get the feedback up for everybody, we will do so as quickly as possible. But Olsenbrecht's there as well. Rigamorto has fallen off from the canyon, actually, over the top of Libby Hill. Dixon from KRT. Whitelaw's there as well. The main pack, if you head on over to zwippower.com, you can see the live results there as well. It looks like Jennifer Rio was able to make it. Gardner there, it looks like, too. Eklund from Canyon, I think the only Canyon rider that was able to make it. Actually, no, Falk is there as well. So it is going to be Eklund as well as Falk. Are in that lead group at this point amongst the women. Greg, you want to speak to a little bit? We have a couple of attacks here, actually, real quick, in the open race, and then we'll tag a little bit about what we think is going to be happening amongst the women as they make their way over the top of 23rd Street. But the Poison Dart, again, attacking. Is he unstoppable on this course? That's going to be the question here.
Yeah, I mean, He's pretty close to unstoppable. I mean, he's got some of the lowest times on Libby Hill, and he can climb so well that he can really make this Governor's Street climb. He can really prevent a bunch sprint here. I think if some of the riders can hang on his wheel for that last climb up Governor Street, if they can conserve some energy, they might be able to turn it into a bunch sprint. But lately he's been looking unstoppable in these races.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they can close this down. It might take a group effort here from the rest of the riders to try and make that happen here. Fleeman is on the front here, putting down a solid, and we've got a cone in game.
Cone time.
We've got all kinds of cones.
They all went under 20 minutes. Oh boy. Let's see who's still left. Is there anyone left? They all went under 20 minutes.
So, Greg, help us out here. I mean, this just happened. This just happened.
This, and in fact, this would have happened as well in the Super League race because they went under 20 minutes for both laps. We would have seen cones for most of the peloton, and this was something that I had been worried about for that race. So obviously they had turned off that feature for the Super League race because we didn't see the cones. It could also be because almost all of those riders are verified riders, but actually, Messineo is verified as well. So, we've got a totally different race here. That's really unfortunate that happened. This isn't even a double draft race, is it? I mean, we've seen that happen in double draft races on this course to Leandro before, along with a few others.
Well, I think we're having okay, at this point, I mean, I'm sorry, everybody, but at this point, it's time to just have our magazine show. I mean,
yeah.
Like, I mean, we'll cover the race. We'll cover the race, but at this point, it's time to chat with chat. I mean, like,
yeah, that's
I'd have to agree.
Man.
I'd have to.
This was setting up. This was setting up for something.
This was.
Conegate.
It definitely was.
Conegate 2019.
Oh boy. Well, everybody, that's too bad. James Hodges is in the chat, and this is okay. So he does have something to say. If you do want to complete the race, for those of you who have made the front group, he says, and you're all alone out there hammering away. Zwift still reports your finish if you keep riding outside the race and you've been coned. So if you haven't stopped racing and you're watching the broadcast at this point, head down and just. It's a TT effort for 20 minutes across the line. Everything you got, go. Sorry to say. I mean, if you want to complete it, you still can. It sounds like I'm not sure what they're going to, what KISS is going to do about this. Go and trademark mine now, Matt Brad. That's actually really. We can have a little bit of fun with it at least. We'll. I'll see if There's a lot going on here, guys. Everybody.
Glad I got my connection back up for this.
Yeah.
What a historic moment! Is this the first cone gate we've had on ZCL?
Yes, it actually is. This is the first cone gate I think ever on a broadcast that we have had, because it was a newer thing when Double Draft got introduced. It seemed like right around that same time, and we haven't had many races on Richmond since Double Draft.
Yeah, Double Draft really expanded the problem, right? Because it made the lap time so much faster. But we aren't in Double Draft on this race, which makes that 20-minute time incredible. I mean, it is true that most of those riders were above 5 watts per kilogram for that entire lap and nailed Libby Hill, nailed 23rd, nailed Governor Street. But to see that many people in a race go under the cone time and just drop out of the race, man, that's something else.
Yeah, really, man. So we'll keep on following along here, everybody, with the front of the men's race. We'll follow the women's race. We'll see if I can bring in some of the broadcast of that. The women, it looks like they did a solid 22 minutes here. No cones over there, which, it'd be great if we just were able to cover the women's race solo now at this point, as they're having an amazing race. There's, a solid group at the front end here at this point. I do not believe if I leave this event on my main Zwift that I would be able to get into or even see the women's race out on course, though. That it's a little bit, I almost want to try and leave this event at this point, but then I might just lose everything altogether, actually. So as there's one of the recent updates in Zwift. So there was a recent update in Zwift. Let's just go full Zwiftcast style at this point and just start talking about what's going on. But there was a recent update in Zwift that did something with events, with being able to watch events and how you watch events. I'm not sure what exactly happened with that, but it changed some things up where we're starting to get a few more. People can't see people in events sometimes. You can't just go and watch some of the events. I'm not exactly sure unless you are registered in it. Once you leave it, you can't get back into it. It seems like you can't go click backwards and find it again and get back into it. So if I were to leave this and then go and try and look for these riders out on course, we wouldn't see them, I believe, at this point. I think it also might have something to do with why we are seeing a few of the riders disappearing here and there more often now. I don't know why, because that I don't know if I would call it a bug, but that feature that has something to do with watching riders in game seems to have gotten exemplified recently by one of the updates. I'm not exactly sure why. There are with our broadcasts here on ZCL, we do take precautions, and have little workarounds that we use in order to not lose the race ever, to not have riders disappearing ever. And so you'll notice that but even within the precautions that we take, we sometimes still are losing them, and that mixed with the inability to jump into events still seems one of the recent updates. I'm not sure. It was in the last month or so. I'm not sure what happened. But have you noticed that, Greg, when you're trying to follow along? And do you know the ins and outs exactly of what I'm talking there about, exactly how it works with watching an event now?
Yeah, so the most I know about it is from talking to Casey Shum a little bit about his frustration in trying to watch and follow events. You know, he does a little bit of broadcasting. He's done the morning grind fondo here and there, and he's been kind of frustrated with that, with people outside of the event not being able to look in. Interesting enough, I'm looking at the people who are still in the men's race at this point, and Alex West is still in there. So sort of our favorite from today.
Really?
Maybe a little tired from yesterday.
How did Alex West made this group without a DQ?
My suspicion is Alex West is such a incredible esports specialist that he knew they were going to go under the cone time and purposely sat up so he would go over 20 minutes. That's the only explanation I have for why Alex West wasn't in that front group.
But he's exactly actually 30, what was gonna. It was planned. Alex West planned this whole thing. Pushed the pace up over the top of Libby Hill. Made sure, look, this is the time that we need. Right around here, Libby. Oh, we're heading up the Governors. It looks like we're doing a sub 20. Back it right on off. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to push this any longer. Knew what was going to happen. Full on gameplay there move, and takes advantage of what is happening. I mean, if it's in the game, it's not cheating. So, I mean, that's right. Just how it works. So, absolutely, that is like legendary move there by Alex West to try and take down the race here today, Greg.
Let's pretend this is what happened today. I think that's a better story than what actually happened. The great thing about this is no one's going to remember that nonsense about my connection at the beginning of this broadcast now.
They'll remember it in the replay. They'll watch it over and over again in the replay and be like, well, what is going on? They might not even make it to this point in the broadcast. Like, this, whatever, gone. But looking through here now, it looks like 32 seconds up, though, is the gap at this point from what we're being told. He's solo at this point up ahead, hey?
Yeah, he's solo. So this actually could be interesting. I mean, it's not the race that we wanted. Swift Power now reporting 10-second gap, but these gaps are sort of notoriously they jump around a lot, right? So we'll have to see what it settles down to. But yeah, maybe he just fell just under the cone time, just fell right behind that group, but still ahead of the group behind, and then just went solo from there. So could be kind of interesting here. I'm looking over at the women's race right now. It looks like there's about 10 riders left in the front group. Three of the women from Innovation, Hansen, Huback, and Whitelaw are still in there, along with the two Canyon riders, Falk and Eklund. and several other riders as well. So things are kind of heating up over there. They're 28 minutes into the race now, which means they're probably getting kind of close to that downhill, getting ready for the flat section up into Libby Hill.
We are seeing somebody I would like to mention. Mary Wilkinson is in that group, and I don't believe Mary showed up last week for the community league, from what I remember, out on the Everthy Bagel for New York, and I think Wilkinson, if she keeps showing up for the community
Mm-hmm.
league, I'd watch out for her as a serious threat. Whitelaw, along with I believe it was Whitelaw and Hubach were off the front last week and TT'd away. I don't think the likes of Mary Wilkinson to allow something like that happen out there. And if she keeps showing up to these races, we're gonna have it's gonna be super interesting. That's for sure. Amongst the
Yeah, for sure.
women's, with the women's, there's a lot of national champions also at that front group right now. I mean, we're seeing coming out of Denmark there. We're seeing as well, I believe, Norwegian national champion. We're seeing the UK national champion in there. I mean, there's just about almost every country that you could represent in the women's race right now at the front end, as well as a couple of Canyon ZCC riders. I mean, Jennifer Reel's in there as well from Fearless there. Gardner, they're off back 17 seconds. So the women's race definitely heating up here, heading down into the industrial park on their final lap now, 30 minutes in, 21.8 kilometers. Again, apologies that we're unable to get the images on the screen for the women's race, but it's going to be hotly contested like here, and it'll be interesting to see their second time over on the top of Libby Hill here. So we've
Mm-hmm.
got all kinds of chatter here. So Aaron, over on YouTube, thanks for the question. So here's where things are at. We had a very interesting broadcast so far. First and foremost, um, apologies on the women's coverage. We will be talking about it. You get radio broadcasts of the women's coverage today, as our feed for the women's is black. I'm not sure why it's not coming through at the. Well, I've got an idea why it's not coming through, but yeah. So we have to use multiple Zwifts rather than a single Zwift in order to cover events. And for some reason, the Zwift that we have for the women's didn't come through today. But we will. Well, it didn't come through. We had it, and then it didn't come through at the last minute. So there's that. Then, though, the probably bigger issue is that the men's / open race got coned. So Cone Gate took place here during the Community League for the first time that we've ever seen on a ZCL broadcast, and essentially the top 20 or so riders, I think it was, Greg, top 20 riders,
Yeah,
right around there.
yeah. It looked like at least a dozen riders in that group.
Yeah, so at least got the cone of DQ, cone of shame, as a lot
Yeah.
of the
Let's not
community
let's
call
not
it.
call it a cone of shame.
No,
Let's call it some. This is actually an achievement for these guys.
ice
I mean,
cream
to
cone. They got
go
an ice
under
cream
that kind.
cone.
That's right.
they got ice cream cone. They so they they headed over to Culver's. They took an ice cream break. I don't know, like what. So what happened was there is a feature. I would call that one a bug. I would call that one a bug in game, that out on Richmond, if you go under 20 minutes on this course, you get the cone which says, "Hey, you look like you are going too fast," and
That's right.
essentially it
Now, to be
removes
fair,
you from the event. It's trying to be fair, but the it at this point, I think maybe that just does need to get looked at. I have
hmm
a feeling that perhaps it is going to mess with the community league. I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps we have an extra race at the end of the series after this, Greg, or something along those lines, since these
yeah,
races have shown up and put some time into their effort.
yeah. What I was going to say is I do think 20 minutes is the right time for a solo rider, but these packs move so fast with the drafting algorithm that maybe 20 minutes is a little bit too high for the cone time on this course for a group like this. I think maybe 18 or 19, that seems reasonable, but um, this is now kind of interfered with several races on this course. So far, only double draft races, but now for the first time, a non-double draft race. We're having the cone essentially eliminate the top riders from the race itself.
Yeah, exactly. And it's too bad. We will be able to still get a solid sprint here, though. It looks like interesting to see that we do still have the likes of West is off the front here somewhere. I can't see him for some reason. I do have, um, you know, the front end of the race here, but for some, I'm not sure why, but he is. Are you seeing him on your feed? Like you actually see him in the game
No,
on your
so
feed?
so the only place I was seeing him was on Zwift Power. For some reason, he's still showing up on Zwift Power, whereas all of the other riders, what it might be is maybe the other riders have dropped out. All the other coned riders have dropped out, and Alex
And
is just continuing to ride.
West just put his head down and was like, I don't know where they went, but I'm going to go. I was chatting with West a little bit about where he's racing from, and he's out in the backwoods. What was he saying? I think it was something about out in the backwoods, alone, solo, hammering away.
Yeah.
Off in New Zealand. There was a little bit of chatter in the back, and so often now he's completely solo, completely alone out on Zwift. Actually, just hammering away. What if he still has the gap? Actually, we'll have to wait and
Very
see.
likely. Very likely he just never picked his head up from hammering up Governor's Hill, and he just doesn't know he's been coned yet. He just hasn't looked up to the screen.
He says that's how he sprints. He didn't even know yesterday that he was actually winning. He had no idea where he finished or anything because he just puts his head down and sprints with everything he possibly can. He had no idea where he was positioned in that sprint. It was just everything he could to the line. Casey Shum's letting us know. Greg Leo, everyone else rage quit. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised there too. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I'd understand that. And this Adam Zimmerman is saying, Team Rage Quit, along with Andy Ball. This is a great comment right alongside of that. It'd be great to have a Cone-themed jersey. You earn that jersey in game by doing a sub 20-minute on Richmond. That is the way that you would be able to earn that jersey in game. That's not actually true,
There you
anyone.
go.
There's no Cohen themed. Like, if someone just tunes in right now, it's like, oh, I can get a Cohen themed jersey by doing a sub. Don't try and get a Cohen themed jersey. Like, oh man. All right, back in here with this. Some big names still in the back of the pack. You're right. Let's make sure we cover this. Up on the top of Libby Hill now as things calmed down for a little while, but it is going to be Dehan here coming out of Netherlands for Dutch Racing. Now, Madsen here for Fusion ECT. Garlock there as well, coming out of Poland now. It looks like them Rich here, ZWC, and then it's going to be Otterman here for Fusion ECT as well from Denmark now. But with a little bit of gap, Garlock here now for Team Poland now, making up to the top now. Now, Han here going for that KOM with a solid 104. That's almost 8 seconds, I think, slower than the last time around, but solid effort here, 191 or so over the top here for Dutch Racing. Gorlak closes it down pretty quickly here. Rich is there as well for ZWC Madsen. Now, ECT, Fusion ECT with Storm Bay and the rest, I think, really do have an opportunity here to take this win, though, I think, after a little bit of the ice cream achievement today.
Yeah, I'm also seeing Jesper Adderman in here for Fusion ECT. Actually, quite a few of the Fusion ECT riders up here in this front group, along with Kallman, Hansen, and Listen. So quite a number of those guys from the Fusion Elite team up here. Oh, and Madsen as well. They've definitely packed full this front group.
Yeah, Fusion ECT, I think maybe the favorites at this point with a lot of matches to burn here. Soren Bay sitting in, maybe one of their stronger riders here. But Madsen here on the attacker with the aero power up there, 190 beats per minute currently here. Dr. HIT, man. Who is Dr. HIT? This is an interesting name. He's on Z-Power, so interesting to see. But Madsen here on the attack now, 9.1 watts per kilogram, 12% gradient that he's feeling in the legs. Unable to hold on after the attack there as the pack comes flying through with all the speed they were holding on to. It is going to be Han again here with the Han here from Dutch Racing, 192 beats per minute, 600 watts at this point. Diavola there out of Belgium for the BZR, and it is going to be Rich there as well out of Australia up and over the top with a 24-second climb over the top of 23rd Street. We're heading into the final Ks here. Who's the favorite? ECT, Dutch Racing. Do you know anything about Dutch Racing, Greg? Greg, Dutch Racing. Not super familiar to me.
No, I don't know much about it. Yeah, this is not a team that I know too much about. Let's see.
Well, we're about to find out. It looks like whether or not they got the sprint.
Got a little shark
like here.
So he's got 36 races under his belt. You know, couple podiums on here. Looks like he moved up from the B group to the A plus group pretty recently. So definitely he's been improving his fitness. So he could be kind of a dark horse here. For me, I think Soren Bay is the one of the big names still in this group. Didn't get the cone. One of the smart riders who eased up a little bit on Governor Street. Now where they're coming
Smart
down
riders.
this hill, and
Is it smart to? I mean, that's the thing. Is it a smart move to go backwards in a race? But I guess at this point, it might be in today's race here. Dr. HIT here is going to high intensity intervals. Man, is going to disrupt things a little bit at the front there with that Z power. But Waldemar here from Team Poland now. It looks like Kukurski. I got that one right. The V male there at the front as well now, the Norwegian national champion.
Oh,
no, V male is not the Norwegian national champion. Male is not, excuse me. That was it was actually Vang, I think, earlier we did see. So teammate,
That's
though, for KRT here now, who is in there. And this is a sprinter I'd be watching out for amongst these boys. I think Soren and him might be going head-to-head, but no, it's going to be Kierski here now. Making his way to the front 8.4 watts, become a very early attack here up on the top of Governor Street now on that orange Tron bike. B. Hansen from Fusion ECT making his way to the front now. Mail following it up quickly here. He grabs onto this wheel and is able to draft to the line. I'd watch out for him the last 200 meters, but I'm not sure it's going to be making it happen. As Dowd comes around here out of Canada, it's going to be Hansen at the front now, but that drafting power up comes from Rich there out of the New Zealand with ZWC now making his way to the front. Will Rich be able to hang on to this? This is a very early effort, though. He's going to have to hold on to a gap, and this is a solid group here at this point that's making the chase. But the question is, can they separate things out enough that the pack doesn't really matter anymore? That's always what it comes down to, Greg, I think, is if you can really break things apart, right?
Yeah, it looks like this little gap between this front three riders and the group back. It's starting to separate a little bit. Looks like those riders behind are now kind of starting to raise the power a little bit, close that gap. But they're definitely not backing down. Oh, and there's the arrow power up. So this could be the move.
It looks like Mail here is throwing an air power up. Not a full-on orange numbers just yet. Might be holding off. Here comes Hansen, though. It may be the last-second sprint here from Mail to try and grab onto that. But no, Hansen, it looks like. Hansen has a solid sprint going from way out here. I thought Mail might have a lot more in the legs, but no, it looks like Governor Street completely demolished his legs, really softened up. It's going to be Hansen across the line, followed up by Mail, and then it looked like it was Rich there for third place across the line now. So let's go ahead and see if we can move our way backwards here and get into the women's race.
Hey, Nathan, I'm actually watching the women's race. I'm actually watching the women's race over on Hansen's Twitch stream here.
Nice.